Well, the next project we got coming up is an older weed eater. It's called the Excalibur. And no, I'm not going to pull it out of a stone and see if it starts. But what we have here in front of us is something that's just been sitting for a long time. I got a new carb kit from Amazon, came with some fuel hose and air filter and thing. But what I was going to tell you is most of the time when you get the new ones and you get these spark plugs, just throw them away. Sometimes they go to the model, sometimes they don't. They're the torches, and they're just a cheap knockoff Chinese brand that works sometimes, sometimes not. It just depends. But it comes with a couple extra primer bulbs, and then that one that's on there. And it's got basically the same configuration. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and put it on here, and then we're going to replace fuel lines because inside here is lacquered and nasty. So I've had this for about a month. It was handed to me from a friend of mine, so I want to see if we can get this thing to come alive. So stay tuned, keep watching, and let's see if we can bring this old beast back to life, shall we? Okay, this is me tearing this thing apart and then going through it and getting everything ready. And the biggest thing is like I said, this thing had been sitting for a long time. So I figured the carburetor was trashed. A lot of times they're nasty and everything. So what I ended up doing was just going ahead and doing the normals of what I do when I tear one of these apart. And noticed that the plug and everything else was fine. But what was really the eye catcher was, the fuel lines were just deteriorated and everything. And it looked sound as a pound. I mean, this thing looked really not too bad. She was just dirty. Figured, okay, probably going to go ahead and put a new carb on it. And then put a new air filter and plug and everything else. And what I ended up doing, because I ordered I ordered the carburetor from Amazon, and I got it. And the weird thing is that you'll see at the very end of this video that there is where I pull it after I put it all together and I start it, and it runs. So I went inside, had dinner, came back outside, and I couldn't get it to start anymore. And the biggest problem I find is that it was filling up with gas. So I've had this happen on a couple of carburetors that I've worked on, or not worked on, but a couple of carburetors I've gotten from Amazon, and went through and I check everything and tore them apart and couldn't understand why. Reset them back to one turn out each, just so I could at least somewhat get something lit off. I couldn't even get it anymore. So the carb that I took off was okay. I mean, I took it apart, cleaned it up, took my little weld files, my tip weld files, went down inside, cleaned it all, made sure all the gunk and crap, sprayed a little carb cleaner. I was going to put it on the ultrasonic cleaner, but I was like, you know what, let's just give it a shot. Didn't mess with the adjustment screws, didn't really mess with the idle or nothing. And at the end, after dealing with all that, I went ahead and it was just like, let's see what this does. And the third pull, that thing idled perfect, like it was just factory, straight out of the box. So what I wanted to talk about is if you get those Amazon ones or even an eBay off-brand, be leery, because the problem I'm running into now just recently with a lot of these is you try to adjust the high and low on them and you can't get them to work. They might work the first shot out of the bag and you get it running, but after that, they flood out, or they won't even get gas. You tear them apart, you go back through, you re-clean everything, you even change out the primer bulb, because all these come with a spare primer bulb, and you go through and do all the normal checks, and for some reason, the carburetor is just not wanting to do what it is. And it could be because they're cheap knockoffs or what have you. But it was just the stress of going through and trying to figure this out. But anyways, back to the little green monster. This thing, I've had it now 2 weeks, played around on a couple bushes, and it runs perfect. I mean, I don't need it because I got a good electric one, plus I got my one that attaches to my Ryobi setup. So this is just a spare one that I'm just going to keep, and then I'll end up probably giving it to family, friends, or maybe selling it. I don't know. But anyways, it's a cool hobby to get into, and it's not that expensive. It's great to get inside and tear these things apart and look at them and understand how they work and everything, and just so that, you know, you got something that you can look at and go, yeah, I fixed this or what have you. But they're not that complicated. But the thing is when you get your parts, try to go back with the actual factory carburetor. Like if it's a Walbro or a Zama or whatever company they use, try to go back to it. I know it might be a little expensive, but for some reason this past year I have done Huskies, I have done a couple yards, green yards or whatever, yard machines. I've done a couple of those. I've done a 2-stroke little mini generator and a couple other things. And anyways, I'm having problems with them of these little odd duck Chinese specials. So what I was going to basically say is, if you can, just go and do a carb overhaul kit, put it in there, clean it out the best you can, do everything, make it spotless, and I guarantee it'll probably run a heck of a lot better. Anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. The rest of this will be a little bit of music and high speed tear down and put back together. So I hope you all enjoy it. If you got any questions or anything, feel free to ask me or leave a comment or something, and always be positive if you can. And at the very, very end will be the final, where I actually got it finally perfect with the original carburetor. And all I ended up doing was replacing the fuel line, fuel filter, and air filter. And that was it. All right, this is Trav. I will talk to y'all later. Have a great one, okay?